Hey guys, just finished watching Doom Patrol, Season 1, Episode 2, Donkey Patrol. What an episode! Oh my god, the show is out there. It's very much a weird show. Now, it's no like a Legion show. It's not like that. It's a little bit more linear and easier to follow than Legion, which is just kind of like a mind trip and stuff. Whereas this is some very close to that, but it's kind of still very, very linear and easier to follow. But we start off this episode again with another fourth wall break with all kinds of stuff going on, and we pick up right where the last episode was, with the kind of the hole forming in the middle of the town and stuff. And I kind of really like that, how it just feels like the end of a season, the end of the season. Like, oh my god, the town's being ripped apart. That's the end of the season. Yet we're starting this off in like episode 1 and 2 with like the town disappearing and all that stuff. And I think that was really awesome. And we see Mr. Nobody, kind of making more fourth wall breaks as a narrator and stuff. And I think that was really cool. And even the chief even asked, "Who are you talking to?" And he's like, "Oh, Grant Morrison fans and stuff." And I think that was really cool. I think that was really great. I think it was really cool seeing that. And then Jane ends up, you see the bus there that Chief is in, ends up starts getting sucked into the hole, and Jane tries to stop it, and kind of, the car goes in, she jumps in, the bus ends up falling in the hole, and Jane goes after them. And that's really interesting. That was really cool there, seeing all that storyline. And then we get introduced to Cyborg in this episode. I think that was really cool. It was really cool seeing him here in this episode. And I like this version of Cyborg a little bit. I mean, his costume looks a little silly a little bit at times, when you're looking at his headpiece. There's parts where you can like clearly tell that it looks like a piece of plastic, and it doesn't look as like metal, like the not as good as the Justice League one. The Justice League one, that sometimes the body was a bit weird, but there was times where at least the head, you could always tell the head was real. So I just don't know why they didn't just kind of CGI the whole thing, or if they're going to use, practical effects and actually just make a costume for him to wear that's an actual, costume and stuff for the actor to wear. But I would have made it out of metal at least, or some sort of metal, just to make it look like metal, because there's a lot of scenes where it's like, especially when he's in like the labs and stuff with his father, which is pretty interesting because his father is played by, what is his name? His father's played by Kyle Clemens, or no, Phil Morse. Phil Morse plays him, and who actually played John Jones, Martian Manhunter, on Smallville and stuff. So that's really cool, having that legacy casting there. That's pretty cool. I like that. So Cyborg is pretty cool. Like I said, some of the parts where he was in perfect light and stuff, and he was, his father was kind of working on him and stuff. You could just tell that in the close-up shots that it's clearly plastic and stuff, and doesn't look like actual metal and stuff. But I like the way things played with him. How the first introduction to him was him just kind of saving a woman who's being mugged and stuff by asking her questions, controlling the pay machine. She's trying to get Mike out of the bank machine, right? And I think that was really interesting with that. I think that was cool. And I like the things where they kind of play up stuff that, using his powers in different ways. I like to see that explored a little bit more, and using his powers in ways that we never would have thought of, how different things that he could do and stuff. And I think that could be really interesting to see as to how far his powers really go, to be able to control stuff. Could he control Mr. Robot, if he wanted to? I think that could be something interesting with that. Could he jumpstart a car and things like that as he gets more? Maybe his father upgrades him a bit more. We'll have to wait and see as to where things go with that. He does talk about wanting to upgrade him throughout the episode a little bit. So I think that was pretty interesting with that. I kind of like to see as to where things go and how they really need to just use him really properly. And just, like I said, I think he has a potential side where he's a great character, as long as you use him in a really interesting way, and you use his powers in a way that's kind of completely, wow, I never would have thought of that. You got to surprise me every time he uses his powers. It's like, I never thought of using his powers that way, I think that would be really interesting to see that. We see the Negative Man tries to leave town and stuff, but he can't because I thought it was his spirit, his soul inside of him, but then at the end of the episode, they because I really don't know anything about him from the comics or anything, but I thought it was his soul or something that was kind of coming out, but he's kind of as like another being inside of him, sort of alien, mystic being thing. And so I guess he won't let him leave and stuff. He won't let him go, and so I think that's kind of interesting with that. It's going to be cool to see as to where things go, and he's starting to try and kind of build a relationship within that, and I think that's going to be interesting to see, especially when he leaves the notes. What can that being do when he comes out of the body? Can it do anything? Can it inhabit other people? How can it play with that? I think that's going to be interesting to see a bit more into how they use their powers and stuff. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see as to where things go with this, and yeah, so that's really going to be interesting to see. So we see the donkey and spitting Jane out. So we find out the donkey was like the portal to where all the hole sucked everything into. So that was interesting. So then we see Rita, Cyborg, and Larry, Negative Man, get sucked into the donkey and stuff. And that's where they just go through a couple of mind trips and stuff. They each have their like own flashbacks where Mr. Nobody's kind of like just messing with them and all that, and then they get spit out, and it's unclear if it was because of because of Negative Man, or like the spirit thing inside of him, got them out, or was Mr. Nobody just kind of like bored with him, like, oh, I'm going to spit you out now and moving on, right? And it's unclear as to how things really worked with that, if they broke out of that trap, or if they were kind of sent out of that trap by the narrator or Mr. Nobody, right? So I think that's going to be interesting to see is kind of where things go with all that. So all in all, I think it was really interesting to see, especially when Jane first came out. She was kind of she was going through all the different kind of personalities and stuff, and I love the switches and stuff. The actress is just really doing very well at kind of switching the two of them. Although I think it's kind of interesting to see as to where things kind of go with all that. I think that was kind of really fun to seeing her different powers, and I really want to see a lot more of her powers and to see as to where things go with all that. See deep dive into her story a little bit more. It's going to be quite interesting to see as to where things go there. I think it's going to be interesting to see, especially with we haven't really moved on with Cliff Steele and his daughter, whether or not he's going to end up meeting her. I think that could be something interesting to see, but I feel like at this point it's just so much going on in this storyline. I could see them maybe ending the season with he meets his daughter, and then we kind of see her, she finds out, he meets his daughter, right, and we don't get the result of that until like next season or something. I think that could be cool to see as to where things could go with that. So all in all, I can't wait to see as to where things go with this show, especially since they talk about the Justice League existing, so that could be something interesting to see later on, maybe just in like, on the news or something, pieces in a newspaper, written by Lois Lane or by Clark Kent, just to see establish a bit more of the universe, right? Just to see also, is this going on as simultaneously as what's going on in Titans and stuff? If you're watching Titans, if you watched that already, or if you're watching it currently on Netflix and stuff, which is a great show, but I think it's going to be interesting to see as to where things really, it'd be nice to get an idea as to how things kind of take place, and maybe they could post on their Instagram accounts for the Doom Patrol or Titans and stuff, and just kind of show us where the what takes place at what time, right? And that could be interesting to see, because I'm assuming when in the first episode when we had that flash forward, we had that kind of montage, and then we got to now we've already had Logan, Carl Logan has already been with them and left, and I'm sure like they're doing their own thing. So I think that could be interesting to see as to where things go, especially to see as to you get Mr. Mr. Nobody, because if you have Mr. Nobody doing this, he's destroying the world, and he has like his own plan to destroy the Earth, and then you have Trigon and on Titans doing the whole same thing. How do they not end up, we're both trying to destroy the Earth, how do they not end up seeing each other or knowing of each other or whatever? I imagine since Mr. Nobody, has fourth wall breaking, is, fourth wall aware type thing, he must know of Trigon or something like that, or so we'll have to wait and see as to where things go there. But I think what would be interesting is in the future, if we ever got a full-on Doom Patrol Titans team up, I don't see that happening for a while, but like if we got that later on, a full season where they're teamed up for the whole season, it would be interesting to see the two of them meet together. Mr. Nobody and Trigon could be interesting to team up. If they teamed up as villains, that would be a really interesting matchup. But we'll have to wait and see as to where things go, because so far, even with Trigon, I'm not going to spoil too much if you haven't watched anything there, but you can watch my Titans video to see what I think about that. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. Are you excited to see as to where things go? Looks like the trailer for the next episode involves Puppet Patrol or something it's called next episode, so that That looks interesting. Looks like there's some sort of puppet reenactment, so we'll see where things go with that. That could be interesting to see. But I really like this episode, and I like the idea as to where things are going for this show. So let me know what you think, guys, in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.